So there's no inflation to speak of as far as I'm concerned. That's a complete non-event in terms of the Eurozone, in terms of the US, in terms of the UK as well. You can print money till you're blue in the face, but the bottom line is credit growth is still negative. China, we'll have to skip over some of these, but China has suddenly become a really interesting phenomenon. It's begun to tighten itself. Massive stimulus package, went a little bit too far. Almost as big as the US stimulus package, and a lot of it going into infrastructure and property prices. A bubble potentially arising, which may actually cause a bit of a problem if they tighten a bit too far. I think I have to stop there. I'll leave you with just a couple of messages. Riots, no inflation, and watch China really closely, because it's been the only credible growth story out in the world this year. Thank you. I believe we do have some time for questions. Can't believe it, anything. Clearly the forecast speaks for itself. Thank you very much. Oh, we got one. I said earlier I don't really cover it. And so I want to give, any answer I give about the Czech Republic will be given with the most enormous caveat about my ignorance on the area. But for what it's worth, it's probably best I say nothing. I've learnt my lesson too many times in the past trying to answer a question I really don't know the answer to, so walk away from that one, I think.
If Greece gets a bailout, where does that leave the other countries in Europe?
Okay, if Greece gets a bailout, where does that leave the other countries in Europe? I guess if it gets to that point, then the whole process has somewhat failed. The way that it's being put together at the moment, it's very much down to Greece. The European Commission stands there, the Eurozone, the ECB, basically a kind of a loose coalition of people, and we don't know the details, and that's probably because there are no details, are ready to provide some form of backstop in the event that it doesn't work. And, you know, there is a substantial, it's going to be tough for Greece, let's put it that way. So it's not an unreasonable thing to ask. But if we get there, I guess the problem is that it has kind of failed to some extent. But actually, let's think about it this way. If there is a bailout, it's not a disaster, it's a short-term remedy. What we need to do is think about the lessons that we learn from the Euro project that's come out of this. And one is that it's all very well having a monetary union, but you really have to think far more about the fiscal union than has ever taken place. And the Stability and Growth Pact just didn't cut it. You needed something far more than that. And it might mean that there has to be a ceding of fiscal sovereignty by all members to whatever degree is necessary just to make sure that this never happens again. So, you know, if we're trying to take something positive out of this, and that would be very unusual for me to do that, but if we are going to do that, it would be that we learn from this and that that's how we move forward, and that we don't make the same mistakes again. We don't allow a country, A, to fib about what it's doing in terms of the deficit, and then B, to get the deficit as big as it currently is in the first place. Thank you very much. I believe we really are out of time.